Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is John Brenneman, and I am the president here at MOA Vacations. I am joined today by Taylor Henwood with American Queen Voyages. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take you through America's rivers, lakes, coastlines. So we've got a lot of information that we're going to cover today. In fact, today's presentation is going to take place in three parts. I'm going to start out and I'm going to talk a little bit about MOA Vacations and our MOA Signature Groups. Then Taylor is going to talk about American Queen Voyages and all the places that they offer. And then we're going to conclude with a Q&A where we'll answer any questions you might have. You may see that at the bottom, if you kind of scroll your mouse upon your screen, you'll see a little dialog box that says chat. I already put one little message in there. So as we go through the presentation and you have questions, you can either save them to the end and enter them in chat then, or go ahead and enter them as you think of them. While we're presenting, we're not really going to try answering those, but when we get done, we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. We are going to send, as Taylor just mentioned, we are going to send everyone a copy of this presentation once it actually is uploaded to YouTube. So you can review it at your leisure or share it with any of your friends and family that you might like to invite along with you. I know a lot of you are already familiar with MOA Vacations, but we do have some people who are joining us today who have not yet taken advantage of our services. So I did kind of want to go through real quick and just give you a quick summary of what makes MOA Vacations unique and why we should be your preferred travel agency. So right here you can see the very first thing that's listed is superior service. And as I say often on these webinars, the reason that MOA selected us to be their travel agency partner out of the 30,000 plus travel agencies across this country is because of the level of service we provide. It is a concierge class level of service. And in fact, we are the only travel agency in the entire country that offers travel on a satisfaction guaranteed basis, which quite simply means that if you ever have a problem or a concern, we will resolve it to your satisfaction. Lowest prices, obviously, no one's going to be satisfied if they pay too much. So this might be a little redundant, but people always like to hear that we guarantee you that you're going to have the lowest price. And in fact, we go a little beyond the lowest price with our free exclusive MOA amenity program. We have a lot of the cruise lines and tour companies that participate in this. And basically what this is in addition to the lowest price, there's a value-added amenity that MOA members receive. American Queen Voyages does participate in this program, and it is a $50 onboard credit per person on any of their departures. And then finally is group opportunities. As MOA's official travel agency, we do set up groups with a number of different vendors, multiple departures during the course of the year. For those of you who haven't done it before, it really seems to add to the fun factor to travel with your fellow MOA members. And it's an opportunity for that added camaraderie and sharing the experience with fellow members that a lot of people like. Real quick, I mentioned I was going to talk about our signature groups. We do only offer 2 of these a year. I like to describe these as kind of like groups on steroids. And this slide kind of shows what the signature groups include that aren't included in just the, I don't want to say ordinary run-of-the-mill groups, but the normal groups that we provide. The first of which is they're hosted by MOA leadership and staff. This is to ensure that your vacation is a completely stress-free vacation for you. And so we're there. So if anything arises, we can address it and make sure that everything goes smoothly. A recent example, in fact, I'm going to talk more about it in a minute, but last year we did a Mississippi River cruise with American Queen Voyages. And we were doing a welcome reception. And even before the welcome reception, a number of people had already checked in their room and they saw a notification in their room that said no open-toed shoes. And this may not sound like a big deal, but our cruise last year was in July. And the itinerary was Memphis to New Orleans. And so if you've been in New Orleans in July, you know it's quite toasty. And in particular, a number of the women mentioned that the only shoes they had were open-toed shoes. So when I was speaking at the welcome reception, before we even left the pier, I made sure to let everybody know they could wear whatever they wanted to wear to dinner and just avoid, ignore any of the kind of quote unquote requirements that were in the stateroom. And it's those types. I know that doesn't sound like a huge issue, but it certainly was to the people who addressed it. So it's important that we're there. So if anything comes up, you can come to us and we can fix it. I know that Taylor's going to talk to this to a certain extent, but we like to have the MOA signature groups be all inclusive. And by that, we always like to have them such that you can get on the cruise, completely enjoy every itinerary, dinner, cocktails, all of those types of things, and not have to spend another penny while you're on board the ship. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Exclusive onboards and events and excursions. We always like to kind of customize these trips if there's something of particular interest to military members or people with military backgrounds. We do on every signature group we have. I already mentioned that we have a welcome reception. We also have a farewell reception. Friends or family are invited. We invite you to bring your friends and family along with you on any of the trips we offer. So even if you're just going, by yourselves or a small group of your friends or family, or if you're joining a MOA group and even to the MOA signature groups, please feel free to bring along anyone you'd like to. And then finally, there are rare opportunities. I mentioned before, we only do a couple of these a year. Put together a quick calendar for you, which kind of shows what we have coming up in the next 2 years. And I'm just going to run through these real quick. We do have a website set up for all of these signature groups, including the Columbia River Cruise, which we're going to talk about some today, but just know there's more information available online. Okay, so the next one we have coming up is Tour of Germany. That's September 12th through the 21st. This is an exclusive tour. You won't find this anywhere that we put together. If you look at the itinerary, you'll see some of the things we included. It does include the Passion Play in Oberammergau, and you are in Munich for the start of Oktoberfest. That one actually we only have, as of this morning, we had one double room and one single room remaining. So that one for the most part is sold out. Vietnam River Cruise. This one technically isn't a signature group, but I included it because it's such a unique opportunity. Bob Certain, who I think I saw might actually be on today's webinar, put this together. Bob was a POW in Vietnam, and this cruise is to commemorate the 50th anniversary of those POWs coming home. It's a really special kind of cruise we have put together. It is a river cruise kind of tour, and then it has a Hanoi package at the end. And I think there's 12 former POWs that are going to be on the cruise. And you really have to read through the itinerary to see the unique things that includes. I'm going to talk more about this. Columbia River, July of next year. A fantastic opportunity. July is a beautiful time to be in Columbia. As I mentioned before, when we were in New Orleans in July last year, I can guarantee you the weather will be nicer in Vancouver in July than it is in New Orleans. Tour of Iceland. This is also in 2023. And then finally, actually going to be announced in the August Military Officer Magazine, but we're going back to Paris and Normandy in 2024 for the 80th anniversary of the landings on the beaches. We did this in 2019 for the 75th anniversary, and it was an overwhelming success. So we wanted to bring that back for the 50th anniversary. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Columbia River Cruise. I mentioned that we have a website set up for this, and it has multiple pages. It has complete information. It actually goes through day by day and talks about where we're going to be and what we're going to do every day. But one of the things, and when we send the email out with the copy of this video presentation, we will include a link to this website. And of course, you can call or email if you have any specific questions. But one of the things that's not on the website is a little bit more about the experience that MOA members had last year on the Mississippi River Cruise. So I just grabbed a few pictures and put those together because I'd like to touch on a couple of things. Now, this first picture is a group that is getting ready to do a tour of the pilot house. And we actually ended up doing pilot house tours over 5 days because the pilot house on a river cruise is not that large. So you'd only let, 14, 15 people do a tour at a time. And of course, we didn't do them back to back to back to back. So we did 2 or 3 a day for like 4 or 5 straight days. So everybody in our group, and we had 160 MOA members on the Mississippi River cruise when we did it last year. In fact, the response to that cruise was so great, is the reason we decided to do Columbia River again or do Columbia River in 2024. If you remember July of last year, there was a lot of obstacles, and to actually have 160 people join us on that cruise was phenomenal. I can tell you, everybody had an unbelievable time. This is a picture. This next one is a picture of one of the shore excursions. And I know Taylor's going to talk more about this, but I just want to highlight this. This was we got such fantastic feedback about this. This is a group of people who are just getting off the bus. And if you've been on groups before and you've done shore excursions, you kind of know how they're kind of scheduled. The way American Queen does their shore excursions, it gives you the flexibility to do the sightseeing at your own path, at your own pace. So they have buses that kind of do a continuous loop, and let's say there's 5 or 6 sites that you're going to see that day. So when you'd like, you get off the ship and you hop on the bus and you go to the first site and you stay as long as you'd like. And you can even skip sites if you're not that interested. I remember we went to the USS Kit on one of the excursions, and some people were there for an hour or 2 doing a complete tour of the ship, looking at every deck, probably the Navy guys who were very interested in touring that ship. Other people got on board and got off like 15 minutes later. So the beautiful thing about this hop on, hop off tour is each of the sites you can stay for as long as you'd like. You can actually take the bus back to the ship, have lunch on board, and then get on and go back and see any of the sites that you didn't see. So this is just one of many pictures I took of a group returning from a shore excursion. And then this last picture that I threw in is of our farewell reception. And I know I mentioned that we do a welcome reception and a farewell reception with all of our signature groups. So in this particular cruise, at the end of the cruise, we got everybody together. I talked, the MOA leadership people talked, and it was a great opportunity. What I always like to say is the welcome reception is your opportunity to meet all of the MOA members who are going to travel with you. And then the farewell reception is your opportunity to say goodbye to all of the friends that you met along the way. This particular picture, I had pictures of me up on stage talking and some other people, but I put this one up here, and I don't know if you can hear the song in the background, but I started the song when we got to this slide because that's the cruise director. And we talked to him before the thing. We said, you know what would be great at the end of the farewell reception is kind of a conclusion to the whole cruise would be if you sang some American songs. And so he's actually singing Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA in this picture. And not even prompted, everybody stood up and started singing along when we got to the chorus right here, which you may have heard, which is God Bless the USA. It was a phenomenal end to a phenomenal cruise. So I thought I would kind of end my presentation on that same kind of high note. And so without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Taylor. And Taylor has a lot to talk about because American Queen Voyages basically is the rivers, the coasts, and the lakes of America. So Taylor, take it away.
Hey, thanks, John, for having me on. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm Taylor Henwood. I'm a regional account manager with American Queen Voyages. I've been working with the company for about a year, but I've been in the cruise industry since I left college. What's really exciting about working with American Queen Voyages is the exponential growth of the North American cruise market. Most people know European river cruises. They've been around for quite a long time. But over the last several years, we've seen an exponential growth with people traveling the Mississippi River, the Pacific Northwest, and a lot of growth in the Great Lakes. So what I'm going to talk about today is the company a little bit, where we go to, what's included, and why American Queen Voyages is unique in all that. So I'll start off by kind of giving a high-level overview of the company. If you've ever sailed with us before, October of 2021, we were called American Queen Steamboat Company. Then we also had a part of the same company, Victory Cruise Line. Recently, we rebranded to become American Queen Voyages. So what that means is we're the same company. We just kind of merged for marketing purposes into the same, into American Queen Voyages. It's our 10th anniversary this year. So we've been in operation in this capacity for about 10 years. And what I'm going to do is hand it over to a video of John Wagner, who's the founder and president of American Queen Voyages. John Wagner himself was actually a riverboat captain. And he had such a passion for the steamboats of old time that he wanted to bring them back for modern day purposes. So what I'll do is I'll play a video that's about 7 minutes. He's going to talk about kind of American Queen Voyages, the history of the company, the American Queen boat itself, and what we're going into in the future as well. Before I get to that slide, I just want to give everybody an opportunity. In the bottom left-hand corner, I'll put a QR code, something that you would see at a restaurant. If you scan that with your phone, that's going to link over to our brochure from 2022 to 2024. And that'll give you every itinerary that American Queen Voyages has to offer, plus a description of each boat or deck plans. So I'll give everybody about 10 seconds here to scan it. If you don't scan it now, I can send it to you later. So
I got it. It worked perfectly.
Did it work? Good. Yeah, I tested it on my phone a few times.
That's why we test these things.
Yeah, some people love QR codes, some people not so much, but I like to throw them in there just in case. Okay, so if you want me to go back to the screen at the end, I certainly can, but I'm going to play the video now for you to show you John Wagner and a little bit more about the company.
Company anniversaries are exciting milestones, and this year marks the 10th anniversary of American Queen Steamboat Company. Our company began with a dream to build the best riverboat company in the United States. And after building many successful companies on the water, I felt it was time to pursue this lifelong passion and purchase the American Queen. Back in the mid-2000s, the U.S. overnight river cruise market was non-existent, but we had a vision and a unique opportunity to purchase and renovate a legendary boat that had fallen into disrepair. That boat was the American Queen, the largest and most opulent riverboat ever built in the entire world. With the right team in place, we closed on the purchase of the American Queen on August 8, 2011, and the American Queen Steamboat Company was born. By 2012, we set sail with our first guest after a Memphis christening by Godmother Priscilla Presley, and the rebirth of U.S. river cruising was on a grand course for success. There's many things that make the American Queen very unique. Number one, she's an authentic steamboat with real steam engines. Her steam engines were salvaged from the Dredge Kennedy after she sank. Our team rescued these steam engines out of the mud and then installed her on the American Queen. Then there's a Grand Saloon, which is our theater. This is an exact replica of the Ford Theater, which is in Washington, D.C. We also have the Mark Twain Library with one of the largest collections of Tiffany glass in the world. You get to dine in the J.M. White dining room, which is a replica of the dining room that was on the very, very historic J.M. White. And the American Queen is outfitted with her very own steam calliope, which we play once we get underway and when arriving into port. Finally, there's a front porch of America where you can have lunch, breakfast, and dinner, sit in a rocking chair, and just watch the river go by. Many of our guests ask me, John, what makes traveling on the American Queen so unique? Well, I'll tell you. It's just a very elegant way to explore America. You get to cruise from Memphis to New Orleans, you get to hear New Orleans jazz, you get to have barbecue in Memphis, cruise all the way up to Louisville, or even go to St. Paul, Minnesota. It's a very unique way to see America and just see the best of what American rivers have to offer. We create a sense of wonder and inspiration of river travel with all the convenience and comfort of a modern luxury cruise. Our experience is based on all-inclusive fares that include a pre-cruise hotel night stay, unlimited shore excursions in every port, unlimited beverages, including wine and beer, and unlimited Wi-Fi. Our shore excursions and Broadway caliber entertainment have won us multiple awards. In 2014, American Queen Steamboat Company expanded west with the purchase of the American Empress. The American Empress sails on the Columbia and Snake River and explores the beauty of the Pacific Northwest. The American Empress is truly a unique vessel. She's the largest riverboat west of the Mississippi. She cruises through unmatched scenery, such as the Columbia River Gorge. She has a large collection of Native American art on board, and we practice farm to table, where our chefs purchase local ingredients and we eat the local seafood, which includes great salmon. In 2017, we added the American Duchess to the fleet. She's the first new build from the hull up. She's the only vessel on America's rivers to have two-story loft suites. She has the Lincoln Library and an extensive Murano glass collection. She is truly a boutique-style riverboat carrying only 166 guests with very upscale service. This past March, the American Countess joined the fleet and was the first cruise vessel christened in the U.S. in over a year. There's many things I love about the American Countess. She's truly an amazing vessel. We took the casino boat, cut it in half, added a 60-foot mid-body section, which gave us ample space to do some truly unique things. You'll see that the bar runs fore and aft with large windows and a great gathering area. We also added a dining room and theater that match the American Queen. But more importantly, you've got 5 different separate spaces up on the bow that overlook the river, including the chart room, the library, perks, a gym, and very unique areas. When she set sail from New Orleans on her preview cruise, it brought so many emotions from all of us. We were returning to the rivers once again. This was truly a historic moment for our company, the cruise community, and the hospitality industry as a whole. I'm proud of the impact we've had on introducing thousands of travelers to unique river towns and communities along the way, connected by the river. In 2019, we expanded the fleet with the acquisition of Victory Cruise Lines, an opportunity for our guests to now experience the Great Lakes and coastal cruising beyond the river. Comprised of the Victory 1 and the Victory 2, the Victory boats will sail this winter, and our guests are looking forward to experiencing this product once again. We will operate in the Southeast, Yucatan, and Mexico in the winter with Victory 1 and Victory 2. The Great Lakes and Canadian Maritimes will be operated in the spring and in the summer. In April 2022, we will welcome Ocean Victory, which will begin sailing expedition cruises in Alaska. Expedition cruising is the next step in our expansion, and we can't be more excited. The Ocean Victory will offer unique new ways to see Alaska. She was purposely built for expedition sailing and will have on board a seasoned crew of expedition leaders, providing guests with a new way to see Alaska. It'll be up close and personal. This vessel was built with platforms to launch both our Zodiacs and our kayaks. All of our excursions will be run with Cal Poly biologists on board. In addition, we'll have scientists on board conducting real-life experiences of the Alaskan Arctic. American Queen Steamboat Company and Victory Cruise Lines is American Queen Voyages, where discovery runs deep. We've got an exciting fleet of new vessels for you. Can't wait to see you on board where I can use my favorite line. Grab a drink, make a friend, see you around the boat. Thank you.
Yeah, if anybody's wondering if he's like that in real life, he really is kind of like a Walt Disney character. So he's a really charming guy. Yeah, so as I was mentioning, he was a riverboat captain, started the company about 10 years ago with a passion for North American cruising. So what I'll talk about now is the kind of the fleet, where we go to in a little bit more detail. And then we'll kind of do a Q&A session at the end of this. But so at the top of the, you'll see is the American Queen, the Countess, the Duchess, and the American Empress. So those are all of our North American riverboats. The American Queen, as John was talking about, is the largest vessel that we have. It's also the largest steamboat ever built. Has about 213 staterooms on board. The Countess, the Duchess, and the Empress, they're paddle wheelers, but not true steamboats like the American Queen is. The way I like to describe the American Queen and the Empress, they're kind of Victorian classic in how they're designed in the interior, with a lot of contemporary luxuries included on board. It's like staying at the Brown Hotel in Louisville or like the Peabody in Memphis, if anybody's familiar with those two properties. And the Countess and the Duchess kind of remind me of the exterior is very similar to the American Queen and Empress. While the inside is more contemporary, it's more like staying at a JW Marriott. So we like to think we have everybody, they can choose between classic and contemporary when sailing with us. As mentioned, we used to be Victory Cruise Line, but we've recently kind of merged the brands. What used to be Victory 1 and Victory 2 is now the Ocean Voyager and Navigator. Both of those boats are actually identical to each other in terms of capacity and design. And these are the boats that go to our Great Lakes itineraries, Canada, New England, the Southeast. And the Ocean Victory is our new expedition ship that has started sailing in Alaska beginning in May of 2022. So all-inclusive. So what does it mean when we're all-inclusive? So when you buy a fare and get a cruise with American Queen Voyages, we're going to include a pre-night hotel on every voyage. So the night before, you'll have a hotel included. The next morning, we include breakfast and transfers from that hotel over to the vessel where you'll begin embarkation. Usually at the hotel the night before is when we do the check-in. So it's very smooth the next day. Once you get to the boat, you just bring your bags on. We'll actually bring your bags on for you. So all you have to do is have carry-on. Meals are included. There's no specialty restaurants on board. So we have typically two restaurants or three restaurants if you're on the American Queen that you can go to. There's no extra charge for any of them. All of our meals are regionally inspired. So, if you're in the Pacific Northwest, there's going to be a lot of Dungeness crab, salmon. If you're in New Orleans, it's going to be jambalaya, Cajun food, Memphis barbecue. But we also offer, kind of for the steak and potato people out there, the ability to have steak and potatoes every night. So we have USDA prime beef that you can order every night. We have lobster options every night. So if you don't like what's on the menu, we always have that available for you. We have complimentary drinks included. So including beverages for that's alcohol, tea, wine, beer, entertainment's included as well. And on top of entertainment, we also have River Lorians that are on board. River Lorians are like the local historians for each one of our itineraries. So they're very knowledgeable about each one of the ports that we go to, the history of the respective rivers, and they do daily presentations that you can learn a lot from while on each one of the sailings. The motor coach in the bottom middle here is what John was talking about earlier. All of our U.S. river cruise boats include these motor coaches. We have several motor coaches that follow each one of our vessels along the rivers. So for example, traveling in Clarkston in the Pacific Northwest, we'll have 2 to 3 motor coaches follow that boat. So when you get off the boat for the port of the day that you're on, you hop right off the boat, and only about maybe 50 feet away is one of these motor coaches waiting for you. When you get on the motor coach, they're all brand new, AC included. We have a historian that comes on board, a local tour guide that comes on board, and they'll give you kind of a tour of the town. And that bus will act as a hop on and off stop at each town that we go to. So we'll have different sandwich boards that are typically numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each one of those boards correlate to a stop that's significant to each town. So when you're ready to get back on board, you would just look at one of those numbers. We'll have the bus come pick you up. The buses come pick you up pretty frequently, I would say every 20 to 30 minutes, and they'll bring you right back to the boat. So you don't have to worry about transportation. Also, while you're in town, we also have included museums in each one of these stops as well. So we give you the option to have free tours. We also do offer premium shore excursions as well. So if you want to do something extra, like zip lining in the Pacific Northwest, we have ATV rides in the lower Mississippi. We do have extra additional options that you can buy into. But no matter where you go, every port has included tours. So that's always going to be included into the fare. The bottom right-hand corner is an example of what's going to be included with our Alaska itineraries. Most of our ports that we have in Alaska are water-based. But as you can see here, we have Zodiac boats. We actually have about a dozen Zodiac boats on board our Alaska ship that launch right off the back and get you right into the water. And you can see how close they are to that glacier. That's pretty accurate. We can get you pretty close to all the wildlife and glaciers that we have in Alaska. And that's all going to be included as well. And where we go to, so kind of talked about it a little bit in the video, but these are all, this is North America, and these are all representing all the different ports that we go to. So each one of these red dots here correlates to a stop that we make on any given itinerary. Most famously, we're known for the Mississippi River. So we actually give the opportunity to do the full length of the Mississippi River. We do that about 2 to 3 times a year. That would go from Minneapolis to New Orleans. The most popular one, however, is either from Memphis to New Orleans or New Orleans to Memphis. We also break up the northern part of the Mississippi River as well, from Minneapolis down to St. Louis, or St. Louis up to Minneapolis. I'll say that most of our river cruises are going to be about 9 days in length. And that's going to include your pre-night hotel, about 7 nights on the water, and it's going to include disembarkation day, wherever that might be. We also go to the Tennessee, Cumberland River, and Illinois River as well. These are kind of some of our lesser known itineraries that we have throughout the year. Where we go from like Louisville to Memphis, or Louisville to St. Louis. We have all sorts of different itineraries that we combine together. And that brochure link that I sent with QR code has a lot of these in detail as well, so we can always send that out to you too. Columbia and Snake River, kind of mentioning what John has going with the group for next summer. The Columbia and Snake River is our second most popular itinerary, right behind the lower Mississippi River. This is all about experiencing kind of like Lewis and Clark as they went west in 1805, as well as the impressive scenery. Between Alaska and the Pacific Northwest, you're gonna see the best landscapes on these particular itinerary. Talking about the Columbia River Gorge, that is probably the highlight for most people on the sailing. And that's not even in a particular stop. That's just something that you're doing along the trip as well. So as you're sailing to Stevenson, the Columbia River Gorge is about 80 miles long and about 4,000 feet deep. And it's set against the Cascade Mountains. And the great thing about the Empress, which is the vessel that you'll be on for the Columbia and Snake River, is that they're all outside balcony cabins. There's no inside cabins available on the Empress. So you're always going to have some kind of great view while on this particular itinerary. The Great Lakes. So this is our third most popular itinerary and kind of our fastest growing itinerary as well. So we go to the Great Lakes in the summertime, usually between May and September. The most popular route that we have is between Chicago and Toronto, and Toronto to Chicago. These are about 11 days in length, but that itinerary will get you to all 5 of the Great Lakes. So if you go from Chicago to Toronto on the 11-day voyage, you get to explore all 5 of the Great Lakes in one cruise. The Southeast United States. This is probably one of our lesser known itineraries, but we do offer this seasonally between November and about February and March is the most popular time to go to the Southeast United States. We have a round trip Jacksonville trip that will take you up to Savannah, Charleston, and Port Canaveral down to Freeport and the Bahamas as well. So we offer this too. Savannah, typically we actually stay overnight in Savannah as an overnight stop. So you get to enjoy the nightlife in Savannah, go out to a restaurant if you want to. This one I really like. I happen to live in South Carolina, so I really do like Charleston, Savannah. So I recommend the Southeast itinerary if you're interested. And then right now, what we're offering in terms of sales, we have a lot of great deals for 2022 sailings. John with MOA Vacations, he has access to all these deals and specials. But right now we have specials that go for about $1,200 per person on these North American river cruises in 2022, which is essentially 50% off a lot of the cabins. Just reach out to John for more details on this. I send him the information that can help you book and research some prices. But this would include most of what we went over today for 2022. John, I'll hand it back over to you to talk a little bit more about Q&A, Columbia and Snake Rivers.
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of things that I thought of while Taylor was going through his presentation. The first thing is on that 50% off sale. It is for 2022 departures, so it is short in. If you're looking to go in 2023, either on the Columbia River group that we have or any of the other itineraries that Taylor talked about, that 50% does not apply. So if you're willing to and able to travel this year, it's a great opportunity to save some money. You know, do Mississippi River this year and join us for Columbia next year, because we'd really like you on the Columbia River. It's difficult to describe unless you've been on one. how much more enjoyable these signature groups are, or even just normal groups are. I always like to say that the MOA members you travel with are just friends you haven't met yet. If you talk to anyone who's been on any of these signature groups, they all rave about it. Every year we do, they do these. They are the single most popular trips that we offer. So it's certainly something, if you've ever thought of going and doing the Pacific Northwest or doing a Columbia River cruise, we'd love to see you on board this cruise. I did think of one other thing when he was talking about the all-inclusive, because I mentioned before one of the value addeds, I guess, of booking through MOA Vacations is that MOA exclusive amenity program. And I mentioned already the concerns about the open-toed shoes. Literally, I think the most voiced concern we had on that cruise, the 7 days we were sailing from Memphis to Mississippi, is people didn't know where to spend that $50 onboard credit because everything's included. There were the upgraded excursions. There is what they call concierge liquors. You know, like they have Johnny Walker Black and Johnny Walker Red that's included for free, but if you wanted Johnny Walker Blue, there was an additional cost. And then they have a little gift shop. The gift shop, a lot of people mentioned, was just a lot of logo apparel items. If you wanted an American Queen Steamboat Company, which is what they were called at the time last when we sailed, they had sweatshirts and shirts and stuff like that. But you know you're doing something right when the number one complaint you have is people don't know how to spend their free onboard credit. As a reminder, we're going to send everybody an email at the conclusion of this webinar. It'll include a link to the webinar. It'll include a link to this signature group. All the information you can need is there. If you have any questions, there's a booking form that's on there. Or if we go to the next screen, wanted to share with everybody, here's our toll-free number, here's our email address. Give us a call, get a hold of one of our travel consultants, and they will be able to help you with any American Queen voyage trip you want to go on, or if you want to go on any of the signature groups we've talked to. I will tell you that the signature groups are addictive. So know that going in, you're forewarned. If you go on one, we do have people who go on one a year, not more than one a year, because they're just that fun of an experience. Before we get into the Q&A, I did want to take just a second and address COVID protocols. We typically get questions on COVID whenever we do these webinars. I do one or two of these a month. Started last year. We kind of got away from in-person shows. And COVID typically comes up, and unfortunately, it is literally impossible for us to anticipate what the future of COVID protocols will be. We do know that everything is opening up. For example, 1st of June or the first week of June, we did a signature group in Portugal on the Douro River. And we told everybody in that group that went on that the United States required you to have a negative COVID test to return to the U.S. While we were on that cruise, the U.S. removed that restriction, or that requirement rather. So, and we only found out about it 2 days before they lifted it. So it can literally happen that quick. We know eventually that American Queen Voyages and all the cruise lines are going to get back to a fact where they are not going to require vaccinations to travel. I mean, we can look back 6 months ago, cruise lines were requiring masks on board, and those are pretty much completely gone. But it's difficult to say they're completely gone because in certain parts of the country, they may still be in effect. So if you have a specific COVID question, it's best to call or email, get a hold of an agent and tell them where you want to go and when you want to go, and we can give you the latest information. Eventually, all of this is going to go away. When we look to 2023, we don't assume that vaccinations will be required in 2023, but we can't say when that will actually be lifted. As soon as we find out, we'll certainly let you know. So other than COVID, if anybody has any questions, Taylor and I are here to answer anything you might want to know. As a reminder, if you kind of scroll your mouse or I assume your laptop, whatever it is, the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little box. It's like it says chat, and you can answer any questions there. It does not look like we have any questions. Do we, Taylor?
I didn't see any come up.
That always is a sign we've done a great job, I think. We
Well,
put
we're always
everyone
here
to
for you.
sleep.
If you don't, if you think of a question in 2 hours after
Exactly.
watching this video, reach out to MOA Vacations and John. John has a direct line of contact to me, so we can always answer questions for you anytime. It doesn't have to be right this second.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have the 800 number, you have the email address. We're here to help you. And always remember, you can always bring friends and family along. We would love to see you on a future signature group. We'd love to see you on the Columbia River. It's going to be a fantastic cruise. A lot goes into planning these. If you didn't notice from the date, we will actually be sailing on July 4th. So it's kind of an Independence Day kind of thing. There will be fireworks. So it's a great time to go to the Pacific Northwest in July. I can tell you that I'm in Kansas City right now, and it is sweltering hot. I think the whole country, or at least all of Middle America, is hot. So I'm looking forward to being in the Pacific Northwest July of next year and getting out of this heat. So hope you can join us. With that, Taylor, I'll let you give the final goodbye, and then we're out.
Well, thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you having me on. John, I'm just going to really second what you said about the Pacific Northwest and the American Empress. It's the second most popular itinerary. And having lived in Seattle myself for a couple of years, between June and August is the best time to be in the Pacific Northwest. And for that reason, we tend to sell out quicker than other itineraries during those months. So the best way to book those is as far out as possible.
And you said that and you made me think of one more thing, so I'm not going to let you have the
Okay, back to you.
The last word. I mean, there are 2 dinner seatings on the American Empress. We found out when we did Mississippi River last year, most MOA members wanted to be early seating, so we are trying to have our entire group in early seating. So give us a call sooner rather than later to make sure you get the dinner seating that you want. So with that, thanks everybody for coming. We hope to see you on a future webinar. Have a great day and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.